Once Trump started hitting back at you on a number of fronts, he took aim at your weight. What was your reaction to that?
Oh, well, like he's some Adonis? I mean, please.
2024 Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie hit back at Donald Trump for repeatedly mocking him and ridiculing him over his weight. Now, here's more of his response to Donald Trump and his delusions of somehow being fit and svelte as he attacks Chris Christie.
There are tens of millions of Americans out in your audience watching right now who, like me, have struggled with their weight. I continue to struggle. I continue to try to do better, and so do they. And what's that got to do with my competence for office? I ran the governorship of New Jersey for 8 years, I think in a very energetic, successful way. Responded to Hurricane Sandy, working 20 hours a day for weeks. I don't know what his point is. You know what it is? It's like a child. It's a bully on the schoolyard who teases you and makes fun of you. But here's my message to him. I don't care what he says about me, and I don't care what he thinks about me. And he should take a look in the mirror every once in a while. Maybe he dropped the weight thing off of his list of criticisms.
So just over the past month, Trump has gone after Christie over his weight in several different ways. So for instance, he posted a video on Truth Social of Christie speaking, and the video was edited to appear as if he was holding a plate of food while he was talking. After a recent speech of Christie's where he referenced the choice between small and big, the voters that voters face in 2024, Trump wrote the following on Truth Social. He wrote, "How many times did Chris Christie use the word small? Does he have a psychological problem with size?" But unlike other Republican primary candidates, Christie seems to be the only one who's willing to hit back and to hit back by naming names. Like he doesn't do this cutesy little thing that you see with DeSantis where he's responding to Trump but isn't actually naming Trump. You know, it's interesting, I guess. But we've got more on this. What do you think, Cenk?
Look, I like it, and I'm predicting that Chris Christie goes up in the polling. But I'm not doing that because I'm an establishment clown. They look at this stuff and they go like, "Oh, I bet the Republicans really love the anti-Trump attacks. Let's put them out there and see what happens." Look, I'm over exaggerating, but the reason why I think it's going to do well, and it hasn't yet, he's at 2% in the average of polls, is because Republicans really genuinely like a tough guy. And like RFK Jr. did this video where he was shirtless and he's got a good body and he did push-ups. A bunch of right-wingers are like, gets up.
Really?
Yeah, they love RFK Jr. now, he's in the wrong primary. Anyways, so I think after a while of Chris Christie fighting back and DeSantis not fighting back, like aggressively and obviously, some of the Republican voters that are looking for an alternative are gonna be like, well, I don't know that I love all the things he's saying about Trump, but at least he's got some, at least he's got some guts. And so I think, I mean, he's on to something, and it's way, way better than what Haley or Tim Scott or Pence are doing, which is just floating on it. They're like Sandra Bullock, that space movie. They're just floating out in space doing nothing.
I don't think that Christie attacking Trump is gonna work. I really don't.
I get that the attacking Trump part is tough, right? Like that, generally speaking, that Republican voters don't like that. But I'm telling you, they're gonna respect his strength after a while. That's my guess. We'll see if I'm right.
Maybe they'll respect his strength after a while. I don't think that's gonna necessarily translate to Christie rising in the polls and getting anywhere near Trump's popularity among the Republican base. Because remember, Trump is willing to punch back as well. In fact, he constantly goes on the offense and throws the first punch.
Well, so one more thing, guys. Media is such an enormous part of the equation, and the media loves Chris Christie. So you're gonna see Chris Christie from here to forever, okay? So that's why he's a rare guy outside of DeSantis that at least has some sort of chance of winning the Republican nomination. Whereas all the rest of them, the Haley, Scotts, etc., have 0% chance because they're not even trying.
So we have more clips from the same interview that we've shown you with Chris Christie speaking out against Donald Trump and his attacks against Christie. So let's take a look at the next clip where he just straight up calls him an idiot.
Trump just told Sebastian Gorka, as you know, that he never trusted you and he never wanted you in the administration.
Well, look, that makes him either a liar or an idiot, because He, in fact, did give me chairman of the Opioid and Drug Abuse Commission. He did make me chairman of his transition. He did put me in charge of his debate prep both times. And he offered me Secretary of Labor, Secretary of Homeland Security, and White House Chief of Staff. So he is either an idiot or a liar, because if you would offer all those things and give those things to someone that you don't trust, you're an idiot. And guess what? He did trust me. And it's just because I disagreed with him that now all of a sudden you wind up on the other side, but I take it as a badge of courage.
I thought that was his strongest moment in this interview, right? Because that is what we've been arguing since Donald Trump got elected, right? It started with him claiming, I have the best people, I have the best people. And then one by one, anyone he perceived to be disloyal to him within his administration, he just absolutely destroyed, right? Starting with Jeff Sessions, his original attorney general. So I like that Chris Christie made that point. It remains to be seen whether or not making these points in conservative media outlets is going to resonate. Are the Republican voters absorbing what Chris Christie is saying here?
Yeah, so look, it's funny, you were out last week and Chris Christie did something very similar last week, and I said pretty much the same exact thing you just said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's because pointing out, guys, which one is it? I mean, he fired all these guys. You saw him fire all these guys and call them gutless pigs and idiots and morons and stuff. And you saw him hire them, right? So it's not gonna work overnight, no way, right? They love the Messiah way too much. But you remember that old game knockout, body blow, body blow, body blow. And that's what Chris Christie's doing. And body blows wear you down after a while. So it's not bad. By the way, Democrats, where are you at? You know, you're supposed to be saying these things. But no, I don't see any Democrat fighting against Trump at all.
No, I mean, but Team Biden has been pretty clear about how they're hoping that the Republican candidate is gonna be Donald Trump.
Pathetic.
They believe that Biden has a better shot at beating Trump versus DeSantis. So, I mean.
It's so sad. You know what you're supposed to think? Let me at him, I'm gonna kick both their asses. Put them together, make him VP and president, I don't care. I'm coming for him, and here's what's wrong with Trump, and here's what's wrong with DeSantis. What do you get from Biden? My Republican friends, I love you so much. I'm gonna let Chris Christie say the rest.
So a few more videos here. If you're wondering, look, we talked about the polling. Chris Christie is not doing well among the Republican electorate. He's not even close to where DeSantis is, not even close to where Trump is, obviously. But with that said, he seems to be very much willing to upset the Republican base, and they showed their disdain toward him during his appearance at the Faith and Freedom Conference in Washington, D.C. He did criticize Trump, and here is the reception to that.
He's unwilling to take responsibility for any of the mistakes that were made, any of the faults that he has, and any of the things that he's done. And that is not leadership, everybody. That is a failure of leadership. And you can boo all you want. But here's the thing. Our faith teaches us that people have to take responsibility for what they do.
Now, later he was asked how he felt about being booed by Republican voters during his speech, especially as he was criticizing Donald Trump. Here's how he responded.
That must not have been easy to get booed, but you probably were not surprised.
Look, and half the room was clapping also. And so it was a real mixed bag. But look, I knew that's what was gonna happen when I accepted the invitation. But I'm not changing my message and pandering to anybody. I'm gonna tell the truth. The truth matters, Dana.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I hadn't seen that video and I really like that because that's not an easy thing to do on the right or the left.
No, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Look, ironically, him getting booed makes me think he has a better chance of winning. Why? Because if the other candidates had gotten booed in a stage like that, they would have been mortified. And he would have ended their speech early and run off the stage. DeSantis would have been like, do that weird thing that when he gets nervous. Haley would have done this. When she gets nervous, she does that. Pence would have been like, they all have their nervous tics, right? Whereas Chris Christie's like, yeah, go ahead and boo. Here, I got news for you. Okay, that's Jersey tough guy. And eventually people go, well, at least he's in the fight and he's not a pandering politician.
That's true. That's true. That's what speaks to me. I mean, look, I'm not going to vote for Chris Christie. I wouldn't vote for any of the Republicans. But the fact that he's willing to go against the grain when it comes to his own party speaks to his strength. And while he might not end up being the Republican candidate, I at least admire the fact that he's willing to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure we go as far as admire, but respect.
No. Like just that one tiny sliver of his personality.
Respect.
Yeah.
I respect the fighter.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.